Welcome to Brown Professionalism. Today we will be discussing this screenshot that was sent to me. And you've probably already seen this screenshot traveling across the internet already. And people are asking, should you apply for this job? Should other people apply for this job? And is this fair? So just to break it down for you all a little bit, this job is asking for people to preferably have a master's degree. However, they're going to be only paying $15.29 an hour. And so when you add and crunch all the numbers together, that means that this person is going to be making about $30,000 a year, give or take. So this is an issue because when people think about people who have a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, they automatically assume that you're going to be getting paid high. So you're going to be getting paid $50, $60, $70, $80, $90,000 plus because of the education that you have. However, this is not always true, especially when you start looking at those who are in the millennial generation. And so millennials, we're known to be underemployed or unemployed because of a lot of social and economic things that have happened within our lifetime that we have no control over. And so we're first going to look at unemployment. So when you consider millennials, a lot of us are unemployed simply because of student loan debt. And it's no secret that going to college is super expensive and a lot of parents can't pay for their child to go to college out of pocket. For instance, I did a webinar a couple months ago for people in higher education, and somebody in the room made $100,000 and she has 4 kids. And so when she calculated how much she would have to pay in regards to their tuition and how much she brought in every month between her and her husband, she was like, her kids are going to have to take out student loan debt. Even though she has a doctoral degree, even though she makes up in the 100,000s, she is going to be one of those people whose kids have to take out student loans. And so the impact of student loans has been huge. It has been huge to the point to where it has pretty much crippled a generation of individuals to where a lot of things that our parents and our grandparents were able to do at our age, such as start families, buy houses, cars, get married, etc., we're having to put on hold because we can't afford it, simply because we have to pay student loans every month. And if you have to pay student loans for 20 years, I mean, you do the math. So we're unemployed. And when you think about somebody being unemployed, people think, well, why don't you just go out and get a job? Well, it's kind of hard for you to go out and get a job when you have to move back home. And especially when you're in the South, or you're probably from a part of the country where if you have to move back home, opportunities aren't vast for people. Meaning that if you have to move back to a rural community, and opportunities are already slim for those who are, in that town, they just graduated from high school and they're going to work at the factory, and the factory is the only place where people have any type of decent job, then that's really the only type of opportunity that you're going to have, unless you decide, well, I'm just going to stay here, try to pay off some debt the best way I can by, doing YouTube or doing some other type of virtual work. And if you can't find that, then you're probably going to be unemployed, simply because of the fact that if somebody looks at your resume and if somebody looks at somebody else's resume, they're thinking, okay, well, this person has a bachelor's degree, this person has a high school diploma. I can probably get them in at a cheaper rate to pay them rather than somebody with a bachelor's degree, because they're probably going to be asking for a little bit more amount of money. This is how people think in regards to, okay, who can I get more bang for my buck with? I can probably go with the high school person who only has a diploma, who probably needs his job just as much as the person graduating from college. However, because the wages for somebody graduating from high school is lower than somebody who has a bachelor's degree, I'm probably able to get them in a little bit cheaper and save the company a little bit more money. And so that's when the unemployment comes in, because you're in places where you don't have a lot of opportunities. And so if you have to move back home and you don't have a lot of opportunities there, then you're either unemployed or you become underemployed. And so when we look at people who are underemployed, it takes us to this place where we think about people working in places such as, the grocery stores or the big box stores, or, some of the other stores that I don't want to talk about because, I don't want this video to get flagged for anything. But a lot of millennials are underemployed. And so we're usually underemployed because when you think about, okay, well, I had to move back home because I have to pay off my student loans. And not only that, I don't have a lot of opportunities, so I have to take what I can get. And so a lot of millennials do take what they can get. And when you say take what you can get, it goes back to the screenshot where you're getting paid $30,000 a year to do whatever that job was asking for. And so sometimes, getting paid $30,000 a year doesn't necessarily require you to have a master's degree. But in some places, $30,000 a year, that's pretty good. But if you know that you have a bachelor's degree and you could be making more, but the opportunities around you are very scarce, then you're just going to take what you can, get the experience, and then just try to do what you can with that. Also, there has really been an increased demand for experience. So because with everything going on with the economy and so forth, a lot of times people are asking for 2 or 3 years of experience beyond the education that we have, meaning that sometimes employers who are hiring people, they won't look at your internships, they won't look at your assistants or your fellowships, simply because they want to see what you have done outside of school that's not related to fulfilling a credit for you to graduate. And so if you have just graduated from undergrad, if you have just graduated from your master's or from your doctoral program, a lot of times you don't have that 1 year of removed experience from your educational setting. The only experience you have is within your educational setting, and if they don't take that, it's kind of hard for you to get that experience where you can apply for that job. So you can't even apply for higher paid positions simply because of being underemployed and having to kind of take what you can get when you get it. The third thing I want to bring up is that a lot of times with millennials, we are afraid to negotiate due to the fear of missing out on an opportunity or because of lack of opportunities. So just going back to the unemployment piece right quick. So if we had to move back home and it's not a lot of opportunities already, but then something comes open that pays pretty good, better than what we're currently getting paid, then we're like, well, I'm just going to go ahead with it because I don't want to mess up my opportunity with this that it took forever to come anyway. So I'm just going to take what I can and kind of just do the best I can in this role, and hopefully something else comes up in the future. And so we're always, in a sense, kind of living on a hope that something else will come up in the future that's better, simply because of how we have been positioned in this whole thing called society. So my suggestions for us in regards to making sure that we're not getting stuck in a rut to where we're always unemployed or underemployed is, first, I always tell people when they come and talk to me about their issues in regards to, hey, I'm unemployed or I'm underemployed, what can I do? The first thing I tell people is to take the job that has been presented to you and get as much experience as possible and move on. Now, what I mean by that is, if you have a job that is, let's say they're paying you $30,000 a year, they want you to have a master's degree, take it. Take the job because that has been presented to you, especially if no other job has been presented to you at that time. Get as much experience as possible. Do whatever you can to get experience, and then within a year or two, move on. Do not try to stay there more than 2 years, especially if they aren't offering you any type of advancement. If they're not offering you any type of professional or career advancement, it's time for you to move on after a year or two, especially because then you have your experience outside of your educational setting, and you also have a little money that you should have been trying to save up anyway. So then you might be able to move to another place and have some opportunities to increase because you're in a bigger location or a different location that offers better opportunities. Number 2, I would suggest for you to understand the field that you're going in. So a lot of times positions, they don't pay simply because of the career field that you're going in. So when you're picking a major in college, when you're picking a career field outside of college, make sure that you understand from the jump what that position and what that career looks like. A lot of times people have a passion for education and they love the students and they love the environment and opportunities so much that they forget that sometimes, depending on what location you're in, depending on what position you're in, you're not going to get paid a lot of money. And so that's very important. If you know that you have some financial obligations that you need to meet for yourself and your family before going into a career field, understand what the career pays, understand what the career is paying in your location, understand what opportunities there are in your location, and see if that all meshes together. The third and final thing I would suggest to you all in regards to all of this, work with the salary you have, but don't become complacent, because better is always possible. It's important for you not to become complacent simply because when you're working in a job, it's easy for you to say, hey, I have a steady paycheck coming in, the people I work with I like a lot, or I'm really invested in this organization. That's great. However, work with the salary you have, work with the position that you have, but always be looking for that better opportunity to come up. Because if you're making $30,000 with a master's degree, I'm not going to sit here and clown anybody for that, because, I know people who have been in that position, and it's not because they want to, but it's because that's all they had at the time in regards to opportunity. But it's important for you to not become complacent. Look around. After a year or two that you've been in that position and you've kind of got your feet wet, you know what the career is, you understand the role, you got some good experience, okay, now it's time for you to move on. Now it's time for you to look for some better opportunities where you can get paid $40, $50, $60, $70, $80, $90,000. It's time for you to be looking for that. And sometimes we have to move. We don't want to move away from our family. We don't want to move away from our friends. We don't want to do a lot of things that we have to do in order for us to be successful. But if you know that in your town, as I said earlier, the plant is the only place that's hiring, and you know that your competition is the people who only have a high school diploma, and they're not really hiring people who have bachelors because they understand that they can save money if they hire more people who have high school diplomas rather than those who have bachelor's degrees, then it's time for you to consider, okay, well, do I want to commute to a larger city? Can I move to a larger city after I've stayed here a little bit and saved some money? So it's a lot of things that you can do in regards to better yourself so that you can, get away from unemployment and get away from underemployment. However, if you are a person who has to make $30,000 a year, understand it's some things outside of your control that's going on. But it's because of the economy and how things are happening in society to where $30,000 in a master's degree, it seems maybe not plausible for somebody else who doesn't have that. But if you're in that position and if you understand what the job force is looking like, especially with some of these job descriptions, you understand that this is pretty much something where a lot of people are saying this, and this is not uncommon but very common, and people are getting the experience that they need and they're moving on. And so if you don't get anything else from this video, understand, get the experience that you need. Take the $30,000, get the experience that you need within a year or two, and move on. I always say, try to move after a year. If you can't move after a year, then definitely after 2 years. Your experience and everything that you've done, if they're not offering you more money, if they're not offering you more career or professional advancement, it's time for you to move on for sure. So like, share, subscribe, definitely comment below, because this is definitely something that is, I'm not gonna say a passion of mine, but it's something that I like to discuss, because I think that if you have went to school to get any type of higher education degree, $30,000 should definitely not be something that people offer you, but people offer it to you, and then they try to offer other benefits and stuff to kind of compensate for that. But we can definitely have another video about this and a discussion down in the comments about this as well. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thank you.